Today we jump into our first of the Haunted Halloween episodes, and what better is there to start things out with a game that not only has everything we could possibly be hoping for, but is also one of the coolest and best games for the Super Nintendo, Super Castlevania 4. On a night that seemed just like any other, little did anybody know that it had been exactly 100 years since the Belmont family last defeated Dracula. And it was finally time for his resurrection to take place. The fog is thick, the music makes your skin crawl, and as soon as you witness Dracula flap his bat wings off into the night, you know that there's just one more thing that you're destined to do. Things start off as eerie as ever, near the outer walls. The atmosphere is done beautifully, and the choice of music helps your enhanced sound effects stand out more than ever. You will quickly feel and realize just how much your control has improved. This 91 early Super Nintendo release made it clear that there was no mistaking this for something that you've already seen on the NES. Being able to whip in all 8 directions with ease and even keeping the button pressed will allow you to move it about freely for any awkward or unusual situations that you may encounter on your journey. Super Castlevania is really a game that's best enjoyed in the dark with complete silence, where you can really appreciate its gorgeous visuals and full, juicy sound effects. There's absolutely nothing generic about this adventure, that is for certain, and there are plenty of tiny details that truly help the Castlevania world come to life. When playing through and listening to Castlevania 4, polished is definitely a word that comes to mind. With so many outstanding and unique soundtracks to keep you going on your quest to finally reach and defeat Dracula, yet another time. Just like in previous installments, you can pick up sub-weapons and use them with your shoulder buttons. And also, just like the others, you have hearts to fill up your ammo and not your health, which is pretty weird. But instead for your health, you can sometimes find food, because what could possibly heal those flesh wounds better than a big old piece of meat? Have a cut on your arm? Forget the band-aids, just take a nice bite of this roast beef. With your whip being so long, strong, and versatile, especially after it's so easily upgraded within whipping only a few candlesticks open, you'll soon realize 2 things. One is that your sub-weapons don't matter nearly as much as they once did. Now that your whip goes so far and in every direction, you won't often need to rely on them like you did. Although they're still fun to use and do come in handy when you're looking for the right opportunities. Secondly, the platforming and/or getting knocked off the edge is going to end up being one of the most consistent obstacles that you'll face. It's definitely worth mentioning that Castlevania 4 has a very gradual, slowly but surely difficulty curve with it, where I found myself not having to be all that careful and even somewhat disrespecting its early challenges by just walking and jumping through as consistently as I could, which had me forming some early on opinions on how this all would go, especially when some sections feel a bit like a slog, and with its slower, suspenseful music, it can really lull you into a false sense of security for a few minutes. Before everything picks back up all at once with more threats, much trickier platforming, more lively music, and ultimately caps the outdoor section with a pretty darn badass Hydra fight. With those pits below you, both of the heads using different attacks, and just the overall visuals and sound effects are simply outstanding, which really makes you want to continue to see what could possibly be next. The thing about Castlevania 4 is that it has incredible setting variety. Although there are technically just 11 levels, they're broken into usually 3 sections, resulting in literally about 30 different backgrounds, from the multiple outdoor locations to various sections within the castle. The library, the ballroom, everything. It obviously took a lot of work since many of them are so full of detail, and you can really tell that they spent a ton of time on this game. When you combine this many detailed backgrounds with the gorgeous enemy and boss design, its amazing music and sound effects, you can rest assured that this really is an outstanding one-of-a-kind experience, and it's nothing less than extraordinary to consider that this came out in the first year of the Super Nintendo's lifespan, setting an unbelievably high bar so early on. Not only are the track remakes absolutely wonderful, but there are a few of those songs that stood out to me in such a way I thought that they belonged in an RPG. While the settings and overall experience are something to really appreciate and immerse yourself in, there are of course some frustrating moments in classic Castlevania fashion. While things do seem simple enough for a while, the difficulty curve is sure to catch up to you more often than you would like. I had an incredibly difficult and frankly bullshit time with the last level in the game that starts out by moving across a bridge that disappears underneath your feet as you push to the right. I want to say run to the right, but that's not even what you really do in this game, more so walking forward in such a way that makes it look like you're really uncomfortably holding back a gigantic log. But after this section, you reach a vertically oriented level that really serves as a true call out from the game. There have been somewhat tricky platforming moments that really do act as brick walls for anybody that hasn't mastered Simon's control quite yet, although he is significantly stiff than the NES originals where they had a fixed jumping arc and controlled honestly like Ghosts and Goblins a bit. You can at least control yourself in the air, but it's far from the most fluid and forgiving jump control that you've ever dealt with. With practice, you can absolutely overcome it, so putting that part aside, the fact is that these falling staircases are just not perfectly put together. That's really as nicely as I can put it. I had so many garbage deaths of falling through them when I seriously jumped up and attempted to walk no differently than the successful times before or after it. Such blatantly horseshit moments, and they really made this the longest damn checkpoint with so many dangerous and immediately deadly spots that I wouldn't be surprised at all if kids that got this far simply couldn't continue. After the stairs, you have all of these moving platforms flying right into spikes, and you have to really know what the heck you're doing to get past a section like this. You don't just do it once, you have 4 of these, and it doesn't help that they get harder each and every time. Plus you can't even safely jump to the stairs, making your positioning and timing more important than ever, and the fact that your checkpoint is at the bottom of the room every single time is just awful. But the amazing part about getting through this climb is that although it says you're on B3, you surprisingly and thankfully do not go back to B1 after a game over. Now you've just got a home stretch of boss fights. The first encounter is described as a demonic knight, Slogra, who serves death himself. While you may be used to outswinging your opponent for the most part, this guy won't stand for that and he'll always seem to outlast your health. But what you'll soon realize is that your strategy just has to adjust for his first and second halves. At first you can duck and get after him with your whip. When Slogra's claws come out though is when you don't want to be anywhere near it and have to give yourself enough space to avoid his lunges, taking advantage of your long whip, which can only hit him once he starts to change color. Your next match is against Gaibon, described as a fire-breathing flying demon, a direct subordinate of death. As cool and epic as this boss is, plus with the cool background and music, he's actually not very hard at all if you just keep jumping up to whip him as much as you can. You'll most likely outpace his damage as long as you don't bump into him too many times. It's definitely epic witnessing his transformation, but really, it's not that bad at all. Up next is Death himself. He's been a crazy and frustrating fight in the past on the NES, and he can definitely be pretty intimidating and tricky here. But once again, staying aggressive with your whip and consistent with your timing and angles, it's not too terrible to outlast this guy, and normally just takes a time or two before you realize what needs to be done to finish things off. Once that fight is finished, we continue to the left and experience one of the best lead-ins to a final battle in classic gaming history. It's like you can feel the hair standing up on the back of your neck as you realize that you have actually come all of this way, and you're finally going to square off to end this century's reincarnation of Dracula. And then we encounter him. Things start out at a slower pace and only get ramped up from there. At first you're just dealing with a projectile that you have to whip, otherwise it breaks into 3 pieces and will hit your character every single time, so you no longer can jump over it like you did in the NES. Before it's too late to praise this game some more, I just have to genuinely say, I love how everything comes together in this moment. It feels so monumental and powerful. As you wear down his health, Dracula summons fire spirits that you need to really adjust and learn how to deal with, otherwise they'll fall right into you even after you whip them down. Plus you have to look out for the fire on the ground when they're spawning as well. There's definitely no way around it, you have to earn your way through this fight. It's worth mentioning that there is a secret hidden in plain sight, where you can jump down to get your sub-weapon maxed out, with more ammo than you could possibly need. But screw that, we're here to do it for real. After I experienced several deaths, I eventually had a run that was going much better than the others. When Dracula's health got low enough, the game totally floored me with its classic theme blowing out triumphantly as you have your nemesis against the ropes. This is what the hours have led up to. You have to be careful hanging in there through his new lightning attacks and take this monster out. In cinematic perfection, the morning light shines through the broken window as the final fight clearly lasted all night, and once again the Belmont family has defeated the curse of evil once more, and with barely any health left at all. Man, that was awesome. Super Castlevania 4 kicks ass, and I'm really looking forward to getting to the next Halloween episode. So what I'm thinking is, was that just the ending of Castlevania 4 that I just heard? Yeah, actually you did. It was really good. Nice. Well, speaking of great 16-bit Castlevania games, have you ever played Castlevania Bloodlines on the Sega Genesis? You know, I've been meaning to, I still haven't played that. Well, say no more. You know what would be perfect for your next Halloween episode? Bloodlines. Go ahead and give this a try. Cool, thanks. I've been looking forward to this, actually. I appreciate it. Yeah, no problem, man, and have fun. Take care. Oh, one last thing. You did remember to play through the second round, right? There's more enemies, they do more damage, and it's way harder. I know you'll finish it though, right?